This episode is from the book Swamiji's Treasure, as you yourself mentioned in the question. Okay, I was referring to that book to answer your question, and I would like to explain to you why Swamiji could not save Pichaiah. I mean, the explanation is all in the book itself. Pichaiah was also poisoned earlier a few times. Why it was done is people around him who were watching him do the tapas, somehow they wanted to check whether Pichaiah is genuinely doing some tapas or is acting or what. Okay. Now they assume that if Pichaiah is doing tapas, real tapas, then the poison should not kill him. No, I don't know from where they got that logic. Okay, now it's not necessary that people who are doing tapas will not get killed if they are given poison. Okay, but somehow these people got that idea and they wanted to test him. They wanted to check whether Pichaiah is genuinely doing tapas or he is just acting. Okay, as though he is doing tapas, he is acting as though he is a god man, a spiritual man, but really he is not. So that was their suspicion. And they wanted to test that, and somehow they thought that if they give him poison and Pichaiah doesn't get killed by the poison, then it is true tapas. I don't know what that logic is. Okay, but yet they gave him poison a few times, not just once, not just in 68. Even earlier to that, the people around him, out of ignorance, it's just ignorance, people assume a lot of things. Like, for example, when Swamiji was made to sit in tapas by Lord Shiva, people assume that those who are doing tapas should not eat anything. They don't require any food. They don't require even milk, nothing. See, none of the villagers of Adivarapeta knew anything about tapas. Nobody had performed tapas there. Nobody knew what tapas was. Yet they would just assume that a person who is doing tapas will not eat any food, will not drink anything. I don't know from where they get that knowledge, but that is wrong knowledge. Okay, so a great saint by the name of Tapasviji Maharaj, who had done years, decades and decades of tapas, he had to go there to Adivarapeta and he had to educate the people there that no, even people who are doing tapas, they need some nutrition. To keep their body alive, they need some nutrition. It's not true that they don't require any nutrition at all. That is only ignorance. Out of ignorance, you are assuming that. So then, on the advice of Tapasviji Maharaj, and when Tapasviji Maharaj bought a cow and donated the cow to Swamiji's mother, Parvatamma, and instructed her and educated the villagers. No, this boy is doing tapas. Even in tapas, his physical body will still require some nutrition. He cannot take the normal food that we all take, because he is just sitting all the time. But his body still requires some nutrition, and cow's milk is the best food for such people. So he advised Swamiji's mother to give him that milk, the cow's milk, okay? But because they were poor, they could not afford to buy a cow, or they could not afford to buy milk in that village. There were no cows in that village. There were no farmers in that village. Only weavers, people who weave cloth. That whole village is only villagers, only weavers. There were no farmers there. Nobody had cows or buffalo there. So no milk was available there. So they had to get the milk from outside, from other villages, other towns. But they didn't have the money to go and buy milk. That is why Tapasviji Maharaj had to buy a cow exclusively for Swamiji. Give it to Swamiji's mother and ask her to feed Swamiji that milk from that cow. so that he can survive. His body can survive. He is in tapas, he is doing tapas, but his body requires nutrition. Not a lot like we all require, because we are moving around, we are doing a lot of activity. He is not doing any activity. He is sitting all the time, but still his body requires some nourishment. And a glass of milk is sufficient to provide that nourishment. Okay. Now, so like this, people out of ignorance, because see, where do you find people doing tapas? There is one Satyaraju, there is one Tapasviji Maharaj, there is one Ramana Maharshi, among so many crores of people, so many millions, out of a billion, 2, 3 billion people, there are just 3, 4 of them who did tapas. So only people around them know what is tapas, whether the person who is doing tapas should eat, should drink something, he requires nutrition or not. Only the people around him know, only his devotees know. But everybody assumes that they know everything about tapas. So the villagers in Adivarapeta did not know anything about tapas, yet they assumed that Satyaraju, who was doing tapas, does not require any nutrition, which was wrong. And Satyaraju was about to die. When Tapasviji Maharaj went there, Satyaraju was about to die. Had he not gone there for a few more days, Satyaraju's body would have perished out of starvation. So at that time, Tapasviji Maharaj went there and then he educated the people there. No, even a person who is doing tapas, his body requires nourishment. Not as much as the rest of us who are doing all our activities, who are busy doing our works. He may not require as much food as we require, as much nutrition as we require. But he also requires some minimum nutrition to at least keep his body alive. Okay? So, in the same way, people around Pichaiah, they did not know anything about tapas. They did not know what he is doing. Okay? So, they assumed that if a person is doing genuinely tapas, if he is not acting, he is not trying to cheat, but if he is doing genuine tapas, then poison should not kill him. That is only an assumption. It is wrong. Okay? But when they fed him poison some 3, 4 times, Swamiji had to protect him. Swamiji had to save him, save his body from succumbing to that poison so he could continue the tapas. Okay? But it so happened that in 1968, again the people around him gave him poison mixed with the milk. He was being given some milk every day. Okay, so in that milk they mixed some poison and then they gave it to him to drink. Now, at that time, Swamiji was in the midst of a 1 year tapas. As we all know, on the advice of Lord Shiva, Swamiji had to sit in tapas again, this time in Bangalore, in the city of Bangalore, in his ashram, which is now called the old ashram. He sat in tapas from 7th of August 1968 until the 7th of August 1969. During this time, again Pichaiah was given poison. Why? I mean, merely it is out of ignorance of the people around him. They wanted to test him. But who are they to test him? Now, is this a way to test him? It is not. Yet, out of the ignorance, they gave him the poison. Okay? Now, although Swamiji was in tapas at that time, he was in samadhi. Okay? Tapas is what? A person who is doing tapas has to be in samadhi for at least 12 hours every day. That is when it is called tapas. So Swamiji was in tapas and he came to know that Pichaiah has been poisoned. Okay? Now, to protect Pichaiah, Swamiji had to do whatever he did earlier to protect him, right? But because this time he was in tapas, he was doing again a 1 year tapas. He completed his 12-year tapas long ago. In 61, he completed his 12-year tapas. He became a yogi. He got sakshatkara. And yet, on the instruction of Lord Shiva, again he was performing a 1 year tapas. That was actually to protect people of India and the surrounding countries from a war. Okay? But at that time, Swamiji did not disclose it. He did not tell people why he is going to do the tapas. He only said, my guru has asked me to do another 1 year of tapas. So I am going to sit in tapas on the 7th of August 1968 and I will do it for 1 year. And his room was locked from outside. Of course, he had access to his bathroom and toilet. Okay? And probably he was getting some nourishment, probably a glass of milk. I am not aware of that. Okay? And he was doing tapas. He was totally isolated. He would not meet anybody else at all, right? So during that time, during that 1 year period, Pichaiah was again poisoned. Pichaiah, who was doing the tapas about 800 kilometers from Bangalore. That is Guntur. Okay, Guntur is another town which is about 800 kilometers away from Bangalore. Swamiji was in Bangalore, Pichaiah was in Guntur. And Pichaiah was poisoned by people around him out of their ignorance. They thought that if he gets killed, then he is not a true yogi. If he survives, then he is a true yogi. That is not correct. That is an assumption that they made, a wrong assumption that they made. And they gave him poison. Okay. Now, earlier times, Swamiji could protect him, remove the poison from his body with his tapas shakti, he being the guru of Pichaiah. But this time, Swamiji was in samadhi, he was in tapas. Okay. But yet, he came to know about it. What is my source? How am I saying this? The same passage from which you took the text that you now mentioned, I just read the passage further. Okay. So there it is written in the book Swamiji's Treasure, which is written by Tom Palotas. From where you picked the passage, I just read a few paragraphs down and there lies the answer. Okay. A devotee in America asked Swamiji the same question that you are asking now. Why could not Swamiji protect Pichaiah when he was poisoned in 1968? Why did he die? And I am just relating and trying to narrating and trying to explain Swamiji's answer. Okay, it is not my answer. I don't know the answer. But whatever Swamiji told us, I have just read that and I am giving you the answer from that. Okay. When did Swamiji give this answer? Much later. Not in 68, not in 69. Okay. We are talking about 88, 89, 1989, 20 years later. Okay. A devotee in US, Swamiji went to the US in 1988. So that is when a devotee in US asked the same question that you are asking now. Why could not Swamiji protect Pichaiah in 1968? So Swamiji's reply was, he was aware that Pichaiah was poisoned. Okay. Now to protect Pichaiah, he would have had to break his tapas. Why is that required? I'm sorry, I don't know. Okay. But this is the answer that is given by Swamiji himself. Okay. And he explained clearly that if he comes out of the tapas to protect his disciple who is doing tapas, one disciple, Pichaiah, then thousands of people on the border of India and China, they will suffer because there is a war going on. And the objective of Swamiji's tapas, that 1 year tapas, was to make sure that nothing seriously goes wrong in the war. Not many people get killed, not many people get hurt. That the war doesn't become a very big war. Okay, there was a war, but somehow the two countries managed it. I mean, probably India managed it, China, I don't know. But somehow it was a very small war. It ended as a very small war. Okay. So coming back to the answer that Swamiji gave, what Swamiji said was, had I come out of tapas, had I broken my tapas to save Pichaiah, my one disciple, thousands of people, Indians at the border, they would have had to suffer. Okay? And then he also explains clearly. I mean, it's written in the book. I'm just explaining from the book itself. Swamiji himself said, Pichaiah was doing tapas. Yes, he was poisoned. Swamiji was aware of that. And if Swamiji does not intervene, Pichaiah will die. He is going to lose his life. But because he died, because he lost his life while doing tapas, he can continue the tapas in the next birth. And Swamiji can guide him. Okay? Irrespective of whether Swamiji is in the body or not, Swamiji can guide Pichaiah in his next birth to complete the tapas. But if Swamiji comes out of the tapas, he can save Pichaiah. But thousands of others may either lose their life or they may be hurt very seriously. They will come to a lot of harm. So Swamiji had to take this decision to not protect Pichaiah, to let him die, but not break his tapas, so that those thousands of people are protected. Because Pichaiah will continue the tapas in the next birth. Okay, and Swamiji will guide him. Swamiji will initiate him into tapas because he died doing the tapas. If he comes out of tapas and dies due to some other reason, right? Then he may not continue tapas. But if he dies while doing the tapas, because he was given poison without his knowledge, then he can continue the tapas in the next birth. Again, all this is not my knowledge. I am just explaining from the book. I just read the next paragraph that was there in the book from the paragraph that you are quoting from the same book. Okay, same book that is written by Tom, Swamiji's Treasure. I am just explaining the next paragraph. Okay, so this is the reason Swamiji could not save Pichaiah, so that he can protect those thousands of other people and Pichaiah can continue the tapas. Okay, I mean, let us understand this. Tapas is for the soul, for the Atma. It is not for the physical body. Okay, so a person loses his physical body, he can again get another physical body and then continue the tapas because the tapas is for the Atma. Like Swamiji has taken so many births, right? In all the births, I mean, in most of the births, not all the births, but most of the births, he was a yogi. He did tapas. He helped a lot of people come into the spiritual line, gain spiritual knowledge. He has done all of that. Not just in one single birth, in several births he has done it. Okay? So in the same way, Pichaiah, he will be born again, he'll take a next birth, he'll again come back to the line of devotion. He will be guided by Swamiji because Swamiji is his guru and continues to be his guru. And under Swamiji's guidance, he'll perform the tapas. Now, did this actually happen? I am not aware of this. I am sorry. Swamiji did not disclose whether Pichaiah was reborn again, whether he is continuing the tapas. Okay? But Swamiji said this 20 years after Pichaiah died. Okay, Aljasa, now, does this answer your question? Please let me know.
I ask myself in which way Shivabalayogi do through his astral bodies. Why she can do parallel with focused on the war, focused on the Pichia, and send him an astral body to warn him.
Okay. I think I understand your question.
Yes.
Now let me put your question in my words just to confirm that I understand your question. So, what you are asking me is that you understand that Swamiji was in tapas. Swamiji was focusing on the war between India and China. He
Yes.
wanted to protect the people who are either involved in the war or in the border or anywhere. I mean, who were in danger because of the war. Okay. So, you are asking me the question. Yes, Swamiji was in tapas, but why could not Swamiji use one of his astral bodies to go and save Pichaya? This is your question. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Now let me express my ignorance here. Okay. I don't know how exactly Swamiji saved Pichaya earlier. Do you know?
No,
Does
no,
anyone
no.
know?
I don't know. I don't know.
Exactly. Okay. So, but all that we know is that Swamiji had to use his spiritual power, the power that he attained through tapas. He has to use that to save Pichaya. Same thing that he is using to save those thousands of people who would have died had Swamiji broken his tapas. Okay. Now, exactly how this happens, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. I don't know the mechanics of it. Okay. How exactly does he do? How exactly does he save somebody who has taken poison? I mean, his body is poisoned. So, how does an astral body help? How does an astral body go and remove the poison from the physical body? I don't know. So, I am only relying on the answer that was given by Swamiji. Okay. Now, what kind of equations work there? What formulas work in tapas, in the spiritual world? I'm sorry, I'm not aware of that. You will require another yogi to come and explain to you all of that. Okay. Now, there could be a question in the minds of some people. Why did not Swamiji explain that? I mean, the question that I am asking: how exactly does Swamiji go and save a person who has been poisoned? What does he do? Does he give him any medicine? Does he give him any antidote? Nothing physical to the extent that I know. So, how did Swamiji nullify the effect of the poison the earlier times? I don't know. I am not aware of that. That is a spiritual practice. Okay. Now, to understand that, forget about doing that. Okay. Even to understand that, we require spiritual knowledge of that level. Okay. Now, this I think is the reason Swamiji doesn't go into the details and explain to us, because we will not be in a position to understand. I hope I'm clear there. I mean, if you want, I can give a couple of examples to explain that part. Am I clear, Aljosa? I am saying that I don't know the answer. I am telling you that Swamiji did not explain why he could not save Pichaya without sacrificing those thousands of people, why one of his astral bodies could not go and save Pichaya. I don't know if it is earlier time, if it was an astral body which saved him. I don't know. Okay. But then all that I am trying to tell you is Swamiji did not explain that because none of us, neither me nor you nor anybody else, none of his devotees have the prerequisite knowledge, spiritual knowledge, to be able to understand what Swamiji will explain. Okay, I mean, I can just give you an example from our physical, from our world, from the domain of our knowledge, what we know. From that, I can give you an example as to why, unless you gain the domain knowledge, you will not be able to understand the answer. That is the reason Swamiji did not explain any further. Okay, he explained to the extent that if I break my tapas, so that means to save Pichaya, he would have had to break his tapas. And if he broke the tapas, thousands of others would have either lost their lives or they would have suffered a lot. So Swamiji had to balance. He decided to save those thousands of people because Pichaiah is not going to lose much. He is going to lose one physical body, one birth, one lifetime. He can again take birth, of course, with Swamiji's help, with Swamiji's blessings, because Swamiji was his guru and he is his guru, continues to be his guru. So Pichaiah can again be put into tapas and Pichaiah can complete tapas, not as Pichaiah, but in the next birth. But those 1,000 people have to be saved now. Otherwise, the war will break out and we may lose thousands of people. So this decision, Swamiji had to take this. And he decided that I would rather let Pichaiah die than allowing all those thousands of people to die or suffer. That's why he did this. Okay. Now, I don't know, to answer your question again, I don't know whether it is the astral body which comes and saves. I don't know. The physical body has to be cleared of the poison, right? How do we do that? It can be done through spiritual power, but I don't know exactly how it is done. Okay, now Swamiji was bitten by poisonous snakes, not once, several times. And we know that once Swamiji was given the Om Namah Shivaya Panchakshari mantra, and by reciting that mantra, the effect of the poison was taken away. Okay? At another time, when Vasuki, the snake from Lord Shiva's neck, the snake which is around Lord Shiva's neck, when that snake came and bit Swamiji to test him, to test his resolve in doing the tapas, then Lord Shiva had to come down and save Swamiji. Because he fell unconscious after that because of the effect of the poison. Because it was a very great snake, it was a very powerful snake. Its poison were also very potent. So Lord Shiva had to come down again, his guru had to come down and then protect Swamiji. Okay? Swamiji actually fell down at that time. Then his guru Jangamadevara, who is now no one else other than Lord Shiva, he had to come in the form of Jangamadevara and again bring Swamiji back to life during his tapas. Right? Now, I don't know how this is done. I don't know the mechanism of how the poison is removed from the body. Okay, Aljasa? Have I answered your question? I mean, I'm not really answering your question. I'm only telling you that even if Swamiji would have given us the answer, we couldn't have understood it.
Yes.
Because we require,
thank you very much.
We require some level of spiritual knowledge to be able to even understand that, which none of us have.